Welcome to the Seattle Investors Club podcast with Julie Clark and Joe Bauer, where we share the nuts and bolts of real estate investing from our 20-plus years in the industry. Sit back, relax, listen, and immediately take action. Are you ready? Here we go.
Welcome to another edition of the Seattle Investors Club podcast. My name is Joe Bauer, and I have my co-host Julie Clark on the line. Julie, how's your day going?
My day's going good. Hey, everybody.
Yeah. And we are super excited to have Frank Rolfe of Mobile Home University. Frank, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, we are excited to have you. It's been some time that we've been trying to get you on the podcast here. And just to kick us off, Frank, tell us a little bit about your background and how long you've been investing in mobile homes.
Sure. Bought my first mobile home park in 1996. So I've been in the industry a little over 2 decades. Started with just that one property. Didn't know anything about the industry at all. I only bought it because it had an outrageous offer. The seller offered me on a single cold call, he would sell me the park for $400,000 with $10,000 down, and he would carry $390,000 for 30 years. And just based on that, I bought it. And then I officed out of that park for a year in a little tiny single wide, at which time I started buying up more parks. And then I merged with my business partner, Dave Reynolds, back in 2010. And now we are the 5th largest owner of mobile home parks in the U.S. So we have about 32,000 lots spread out over about 28 states.
Wow. When you bought that first one back in the day, did you have a day job or did that turn into your day job?
Well, what happened was I had built from scratch a billboard company over the prior 14 years, and I just sold it in September of 1996, and then I bought the mobile home park a couple months later. So my day job had already been sold to a public company, so I was basically bored and had no day job. And so it seemed like a logical conclusion to buy a trailer park. So that's what happened.
Wow. So was it distressed, the one that you bought, or was it, you jump into a distressed situation, or was it operating pretty clean at the time?
Well, you can guess from that price that it was distressed. And so all I knew about the park is it had 83 lots and it was fronting the interstate in Dallas. And so I asked him how much it made, and he told me it was losing about $2,000 a month. So I thought, well, you know what? I'll see if I can fix it. If I can't, I'll give it back. So I'm going to lose $10,000 worst case, plus some time. Best case, maybe I can fix it. Well, when he sent me over his stuff, and his stuff was not professional, it was not computer generated, it was all handwritten, and just gobbledygook. I saw, among other items, one of his largest single expenses was cable television, which made no sense to me. Why would a trailer park be in the cable television business? So I asked him, what is this? He said, my manager convinced me a few years ago that I should offer everyone in the park free cable. So I called the cable company and I said, what is he paying per lot? And he said, he's paying $30 a space. And I said, well, he's only half occupied. They said, well, he's paying $30 for a space for all 83. It doesn't matter what he's got going on. So then I drove through the park and saw that there were little dish and direct TV units on almost every home. So come to find out that of that entire 83 lots, there's only like 10 people who are even on cable. So I just sent a letter to everyone saying we're discontinuing the cable. And I had no pushback at all, except from those 10 people, of which they were like, whatever, I'll just go get dish or direct. So that saved the day. That then ended the negative. It was that stupid. And after that, there was still other dumb things to fix. He had water leaks and just crazy. He had engaged in a lot of activities that he lost money on, which made no sense. Like he had laundry rooms where he was spending an average of $500 a month on utilities, but he was only netting in quarters like $150. So basically, initially, all I had to do to turn around was just to stop the stupid stuff. When I got that fixed, then the problem was I was half occupied. But then I got my big luck out, which was they shut another park near downtown Dallas down for redevelopment. And as part of the purchase, the seller of the park had to move all the families.
Oh,
So I saw in the paper that he was shutting this park down, moving the families. I immediately drove over there and said, hey, I got this half-empty park on the other side of downtown, and I would love to have your families. He said, how many can you stick in there? I said, I don't know. With my tiny lots I have and their larger homes, I guess I could stick in about 30, and so that's what happened. So basically, he paid to move about 30 families over to the property, and that saved the day. And all those crazy things all transpired in the first year. So
wow.
it was wild times. And that's how I got in the business. It was just that freaky.
Well, that is inspiring. I don't know of how often that happens, but that leads me to a good question. So when you're buying, all your home or your units, do you only buy parks or do you buy individual?
Well, our business is we only buy parks. We think of ourselves as being in the land business. But that being said, we own about 4,000 mobile homes, because you can't really be in the park business and not be in the home business, because the only way to fill a vacant lot in a park is by you buying the home.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
you can't hide from it. So yeah, we're well versed in the homes.
Excellent. Do you find that, and I don't know if you're able to generalize this, but when you're buying these parks, are you making your value add upside more in cleaning up poor management issues, or is it in upside in rents, that you're able to charge or clean up? And are you're leasing the spaces or you're selling the homes? Which one is it?
Well, we're leasing the spaces.
Right.
So our biggest turnaround typically is raising rents. And before you think, well, gosh, that's cruel, let me tell you why that is the big issue. Most of these mobile home parks are built in the 50s and the 60s, and then the industry basically was shut down. You can't really build parks anymore. That's why they're valuable, because the supply is capped. And in fact, it shrinks. There's about 50 a year that are redeveloped. There's only about 10 a year that are built. So if you look up in the old marketing materials of those guys who built these parks, but the average lot rent back in the 50s, 60s was $50 to $60 a month. And if you inflation adjust that today, you would be at about $400 to $500 a month. But they didn't do that, because what you had mom and pop quantitative easing. Because they often lived amongst their residents. It was very common for mom and pops to live in those old frame houses you see in mobile home parks. Those were typically mom and pop's house. You didn't obviously want to get everyone mad at you, because you lived with them, played with them, vacationed with them. So they would deliberately not raise the rent. And we buy parks all the time, but the rent has not been raised over the last 10 years, 15, 20 years. So, inflation kept chugging along. They did not participate in inflation. So our U.S. average lot rent is at $280, and our U.S. average lot rent should be about $480. So there's tons of room to raise rent. So raising rents as a park owner is your typical number one way to increase performance. But a lot of these parks are so poorly run by mom and pop on the front end that when we first buy them, we undo a whole lot of disaster, which is a great addition to the cash flow and the value, but it's not the ultimate addition. The ultimate addition is traditionally raising rents, in some cases filling lots. But I'll just give you an example of a crazy expense story. We bought a park in Illinois that mom and pop had a staff that was costing them $240,000 a year on a 199 space park with only 100 occupied. And to put that in perspective, the industry norm would be $10 a month plus free housing. So that park, normally the manager would be receiving $30,000 a year, and they were paying at $240,000 a year. So our big value add on that park was.
You say that to pay the park manager, the norm is $10 a month plus free housing. Is that what you just said?
That's correct.
Okay.
So let me tell you how this all went about. Mom and pop, they were not living on site. They'd gotten wealthier, and they had this manager. And over time, so the way this always works out, it's crazy, because mom and pops, they quantitatively ease the residents' rent, but they go the reverse on employees, because again, they're always searching for love in the wrong places. So they started the manager off probably at, I don't know, $30,000 or something. But then they would give them annual raises, and then they would give them free health care, and then anything else the manager asked for, they would just slam it on at, $500 a month increments. So that years later, now the manager's at 100. So the manager's making 100. And then the manager, of course, convinced mom and pop that she needed an assistant because, just so much to do. And of course, there's nothing to do. So they agreed to hire an assistant, who just happens to be a family member of hers, and they pay her another 30. And then she convinces mom and pop that to keep up with the Joneses, they need to be doing a lot more maintenance on the property. So she convinces them over time to add 3 maintenance men, which is costing them about another 110. So what we did is we bought the park, and actually the way we worked this deal, you can tell that you'd have massive potential liability from these employees. I mean, just if you fired them, among other issues, you would have just all of the problems of them suing, claiming wrongful termination and discrimination and everything. So we actually had mom and pop fire them all at closing, telling them that they should come back and apply for their jobs back the next day. They thought we would rehire all of them, but we rehired none of them, and we replaced them with one manager for $30,000, no maintenance man, and that was huge. That's the biggest piece of that we've ever had. But it's not uncommon that we are all the time hiring managers who are making $70,000 and $80,000 a year and replacing them with ones making 25 and 30.
Wow. Where do you find the employees for your parks? Are they typically?
We find them in the same place. Yeah, we follow the same people that Public Storage follows, because we use the same pay scale as self-storage. So, your typical public storage unit, they provide the person a free apartment typically above the office, and then X dollars a month, and it comes out almost the same amount of pay that what we pay. So where we find our people is we find most of them on Craigslist, and they all have the same basic MO. It's typically a lot of retired baby boomers who, they're making $1,200 a month each on Social Security, and so they almost double their income if they can get a job paying $25,000 a year.
Yeah.
So although it's not a high-paying job, you'd be shocked at how many people want that job. I mean, there's 10,000 baby boomers retiring in America per day, and you're all of the 10,000 are players. You get a lot of retired military people.
Yeah. Do you actually need a maintenance guy?
Space.
I mean, do you have common area stuff that you got to take care of, but the homes themselves?
See, here's what problem. So there's maintenance guys you get traditionally don't really have any skills. The maintenance guy is a guy that, the reason he's a maintenance guy is he's not good enough at anything to actually make a go of it.
But do you actually need a maintenance guy on a mobile home?
No, you don't. You don't.
Right.
In other words, most parks you're better off, when you need somebody hiring a professional. In some of the larger parks, if you have a park that's 200 lots up, you might want one just to pick up litter and things like that. And even then, they're typically not any good, but often they're the spouse of your manager. So you hire the manager and you kind of get the husband in the loop, and you don't really want them, but you kind of run with it anyway.
Yep. Do you ever take homes? I used to do condo conversions back in the day in 2004 when that all was hot, where you take an apartment building and you convert them to condos and sell off the units. Do you,
Sure.
Back in that time, I was actually looking at a mobile home park in Pierce County, Washington, for scraping it to do stick builds.
Yep.
To new home construction. Do you do any of that, or is that allowed? Or
no? Well, we have redeveloped parks. We had a park in Springfield, Missouri, that was redeveloped into a Harley Davidson dealership on the front and an apartment complex on the back. It's you'll be seeing a lot more of that in the years ahead. It's so far to date not been something that you see a lot of, but you see a fair amount. But the reason you'll see more of it going forward is that mobile home parks are not, in some markets, very high use of land.
Yeah.
Right. We're not as bad as a drive. We're not like a golf driving range, but we're certainly not like a high-rise office building. And, a lot of your locations for mobile home parks when they were first built were not the creme de la creme, because even back in the 60s and the 70s, no one much wanted them. So they would put them in more undesirable areas. The problem is a lot of these cities have grown over time. Those undesirable areas have become valuable.
Right.
So, and the thing about mobile home parks are, Well, that's just, see, mobile home parks have an unusual feature because cities are so desperate to get rid of them that they'll allow parks to be rezoned into things that they would not allow anything else to be zoned in.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to build, the world's highest density apartment in history, what would you seek out? You'd seek out a mobile home park because you know that the neighbors will not complain about getting rid of it.
The problem is these days there's so much regulation with, what I'll say, displacement. At least here in our area, we certainly have that. If you displace a apartment building tenant to convert to condos, there's all kinds of fees. And I mean, it's all manageable. You just got to know what the rules are and what the fees are and, build that into your equation. But
in most states, they're more than aggressively happy to get rid of the parks. So you won't see much like that. In most states, all you have to do is offer your residents first option to buy it. And even then, it's only in a handful of states.
Right.
The only states I'm aware of that require any kind of monetary compensation to move the homes is California, maybe Florida, maybe Massachusetts.
Probably Washington. I think maybe our state might.
Well, probably Washington, yeah. But it's not common in any of the states that we're in. Like in all the states that we're in 28 states, none of them offer first right of refusal.
Are you primarily
we have one park in Florida. And, yeah, we are in the Midwest and Great Plains. So we are Texas to Canada, and then that loose affiliation of states called the Midwest to the right. Now we have lots of outliers. We're in Rhode Island, South Carolina. We have one park in Florida. We have things in Utah. But most of our portfolio fits, if you look at it on a map, it looks like a giant P is what it looks like.
Yeah. Wow. So do you invest in anything else besides mobile home parks?
No, we do own different things that came with parks, which because we have so many parks have grown to be an impressively large amount of junk. Like, we own a lot of storage. We own hundreds and hundreds of storage units that came along with mobile home parks. We own apartment complexes that came with the parks. We own, obviously, RV parks, commercial buildings, all kinds of junk. But the only thing we actually invest in are mobile home parks.
What is your, what's your favorite scenario? What would be like, is there do you buy parks that are of any age, or do you focus on parks that are, older than year 2000 or something like that? Or if that even makes sense?
Yeah, let me tell you, because I know it sounds odd to anyone listening who's never looked into mobile home parks, but our industry began in the 30s, and the construction phase ended by the 70s because cities just said no more. So you can't build parks in virtually anywhere in America today. Now you can if you go way out in the country because nobody cares, but in regular city limits, they're pretty much forbidden. So it's very rare to find a park any newer than the 70s. I mean, there's a few out there, but mostly every park we own is at least a half a century old.
Well, that's interesting that you say that. So essentially for mobile home investors, here's a guy like you that just is crushing it, at least in the states that you're at, in 28 states. And I'm sure there's people out in all the rest of the however many states attempting to do the same. There's a lack of inventory to purchase these parks. So is it, are there still deals out there or what?
Yeah, here's the other weird part of the thing that most people don't realize. There's about 45,000 parks in the U.S., and out of those 45,000, less than 5,000 are professionally owned. So basically, mom and pop still own about 40 of the 45,000. So that's number one of where the opportunity comes from, because there's still time to buy them directly from mom and pops. All the parks we buy come from mom and pops, with rare exceptions. So that's where the deals are. That's where the seller financing is. That's where everything is that you want to be involved in is in moms and pops. Right. So that's one thing people don't realize. The other is people don't realize, if you're into real estate is real estate. The average investor out there doesn't like mobile home parks because they have such a negative stigma, right? I mean, here I was in the billboard business, and when I called this guy. He was one of my former landowners who owned a mobile home park. I built 2 billboards on his property. And he throws out this pitch to me, hey, I'll tell you what, just buy my mobile home park. And you can just they'll give you a hobby, just do that. The very first thing I thought of while I'm on the phone with him is I've got to get a concealed handgun license. So when I said, okay,
gotcha.
I'll do it. Next call was the gun range. When do you have concealed handgun license training? I was absolutely.
Is that a valid fear, you think? Is that a valid
No,
fear?
not in the least. Not in the least. So, I mean, I was carrying a pistol probably the first month, maybe 2 months in my pocket at all times in the park. Then I realized that I was more likely to shoot myself accidentally than to need it. So then I took the ammo out of it. Didn't even have the clip in the pistol. And then I realized it was stupid having a pistol with no clip. What's the purpose of that? So then I thought, well, I still want to have access to it. So I put the clip in one briefcase and the gun in another briefcase. And then you fast forward a decade later, I couldn't find them anymore. But I had a nervous breakdown figuring out where's the gun, worried that someone had taken the gun. And then about 6 months later, I found the gun. Then I couldn't find the clip. Then I found the clip. It was just a big joke. But that's what TV has done to people. I mean, I'll give you an example. You probably have seen the movie 8 Mile with Eminem. And you know all the scenes in the movie where they're throwing beer bottles and beating each other up in the trailer park and, all that kind of junk. I was out in Detroit last year, and I thought for fun I'd go find Eminem's trailer park. I mean, why not?
Yeah, why not?
So I Google researched around, and if you Google around enough, you'll find Eminem's trailer park. There it is. There's enough Eminem groupies out there that they've identified where he grew up. So I went out to his trailer park. Thought I'd get some shots and thought it'd be kind of interesting to see. It was an old, retiree mobile home park. Nothing like portrayed in the movie. Nice manicured little lawns, clubhouse, pool. Average age of the average person there, probably 75 years old. All driving Buicks. They made the whole thing up. The media just loves the whole trailer park deal, and so they've basically brainwashed everyone into being afraid of them.
I think we have a famous trailer park celebrity out here in Washington. What's her name? Who was the one in the Clint Eastwood movie where she was the boxer? What's her name? Hilary Swank.
Yeah.
She's from a trailer park out here.
Oh, is she? See, I did not even know that. When you talk about trailer park celebrities,
you come visit us in Seattle.
Well, there you go. Yeah. The main ones people think of are
to our Seattle Investors Club. And we'll go out and take you to Hilary Swank's trailer park.
There you go. Well, Pam Anderson is the one most people think of. She lives in a trailer park there in Malibu. And then Hillary Duff lives in the trailer park in Malibu because her career, I guess, tanked.
Really?
And Sean Penn lived in a trailer park for a while when his house burned down in one of the California fires. And what's crazy is I wrote an article not too long ago. There's actually 5 billionaires who live in trailer parks, but it's actually a fake. They have it as a residence, but actually they're all surfing billionaires from Montauk in the Hamptons. God.
Boy, that would be the subject of a good podcast, or if you want to get some attention on your social media, do a video or a podcast about celebrities that live in trailer parks. You'd probably get, people are so dorky, they'll want to listen. I'd listen to it. I'm a dork.
Well, I've never been to the Hamptons, but apparently there's people who surf it, and the primo surfing spot is called Montauk. And apparently there's an old trailer court in Montauk right on the beach, which you cannot redevelop because it no longer meets the setback requirements. So what these guys have done is they all buy mobile homes in there, and they make them where they go after surfing. So they park in front of the mobile home, grab their board, they surf, they come back to the mobile home park, and then they party, and then they leave, but none of them sleep there.
Right.
But they do own the trailers.
So let me ask you, do you invest in the 55 and older parks?
We have a few of them, but I got to tell you, those are a little scary because we don't know as a collective group if baby boomers will want to retire into trailer parks. All we know is that the silent generation and the greatest generation did. but we don't know about the others. And the problem is there's senior parks. You can't undo the designation easily. So if you guess wrong and it turns out the boomers don't want to live in trailer parks when they retire, you won't be able to get anybody else. So, our industry focuses on two niches that they call the newlywed and the nearly dead. And if you select the latter, you can't get the former. And some parks are strictly basically the young folks and some are the older, but it's kind of dicey committing your money to nothing but the older because you don't know that that's going to work.
Right. Good. That's a good one. Good thought there. That makes a lot of sense. Wow. Let's see. What else do we got here? How about lending? As far as you guys are renting your spaces, what does that mean? The homes don't get sold, right? Or they do? How does that work?
Well, the way a bank looks at a mobile home park, they look at it as a parking lot. So just like a parking lot makes its money off their rental of the parking spaces, they don't really want you to be dabbling in like buying and selling used cars in your parking lot. Right. So they won't normally allow you to count that income. So it's really all about the lot rent.
But now I'm maybe I'm not confusing myself. So when you own a mobile home park, the occupants, I guess I would say, they own it, they buy it, and they just pay rent, right?
Yeah, 80, you're right. 80% of all trailer park residents own their own home outright. No mortgage, they just own it.
Right. Do you get involved in any type of seller financing, or because of Dodd-Frank and all that stuff, do you stay away from that?
No, we prior to the SAFE Act in 2010 or 2008, Dodd-Frank in 2010, a lot of park owners did what are called rent-to-own agreements, which are basically installment sales, not mortgages. And then, the SAFE Act ruined that for people who needed that. So what they did was they stupidly eliminated the possibility of people become homeowners when they could have been, because we were supposedly protecting people from themselves. That's the most scary thing imaginable, is when the government thinks you're so darn smart that they're protecting you, who are essentially an idiot, from yourself. And that's what they did. And the industry challenged it and then gave up to the state of Ohio, of all people. Why Ohio? They were adamant that those rent-out agreements were disguised mortgages and that they would come after everybody. So park owners just threw in the towel and said, screw it, we'll just rent from now on. And that's kind of where it went.
Yeah. Yeah. So are there, most people trade in cash, right? Or do you allow people to bring in, let's say they buy some, I don't know, do you let people bring in new mobile homes, like basically get rid of the old ones and put in new ones? Or do you do that?
Although I have to answer with you, what happens is that doesn't really happen anymore. But back in the day, let me explain why, although it's a little boring, and so I'll make it really short. But prior to the late 90s, mobile home mortgages were traditionally 7 to 10 years in length and never above 15. So people paid down their equity really fast. And so it was not uncommon in those days for people to trade in their mobile home for a new model, just like a car, because they are titled like a car. They really are a car. So just as people would trade in their 1975 Chevy Impala for the 1985 version, there were people who used to trade in a mobile home. That pretty much died out, though, because after what's called the Great Chattel Collapse of 1999, which was the mobile home industry's recreation of the 2008 Great Recession, so they had their mortgage collapse a decade earlier, you couldn't get credit if you were a trailer park customer, and even to this day you can't. So sales of mobile homes went from 400,000 units down to 60,000 a year. It went down almost 90%.
Wow.
And they've been that bad ever since. So they've been in the toilet now for almost 2 decades.
Wow. Is there any secret, you hear about guys that make $1 million off buying used tires and repurposing or whatever the hell they're doing with them? I don't know. Right. I mean, Is there any big secret sauce on scrap of, I guess maybe metal scrap for old mobile homes? Do you guys have any sort of side business model related to that kind of stuff?
No, you actually, old mobile homes, when you finally have to get rid of them, you lose money every time because it costs about $2,000 to trash one.
Yeah.
And the recyclables in the home is only a few $100s. So it's a money losing thing, sadly.
Gotcha.
They're really not, and there really is nothing you can repurpose them into. I mean, like storage containers have many things you can do with them, but old mobile homes, you really can't. They all end up either, I mean, most of them can last forever if they're maintained. We have some homes in our own parks that are from the 40s, but but those that die either end up in the dump, either by bringing it to the dump and having the dump demolish it, or demolish it on site, putting in a roll-off dumpster, and then it ends up in the dump. So, but there's really no money in that part.
Interesting. Do you have any mobile homes that are like considered in vacation property areas, or I guess I mean, I'm thinking just off the top of my head, there's like in city kind of ones, like you said, that maybe back in the day were considered bad neighborhoods, and now with everything creeping out to the burbs and affordability issues, those are looking pretty damn good, as I'm sure they have for a while. And then there's the rural, like here we'd say Eastern Washington ones that are kind of out there, in the sticks a little bit more. And then I'd say that there's the vacation, area ones. Are is that fair to say that those three types of areas?
There are, but the most of the stuff people would want to invest in are going to be the ones in the city. You really want to be in the affordable housing business.
Right.
That's the hot business. The rural lake trailer parks, there's not a lot of money in that because the rents are relatively low, the demand is relatively low.
It's probably boom and bust really big too, right? I mean,
yeah, right. I mean, what we do is every park we look at, we put the zip code into bestplaces.net, and we see what kind of population we're talking in the metro. And the industry norm people are searching for is 100,000 and up metros. But you can own maybe even lower, but like most people don't even want to buy under 25,000 metro, and that retirement lake stuff that typically has like a 5,000 metro.
So what is your criteria? Let's say somebody out here in our state or out there in podcast land is listening to us, because that's probably happening as well. What kind of, if they're had a lead on a mobile home park and they are investors, but they're not specialists in mobile homes, I'm sure, would you,
Sure.
What kind of criteria is it that you mentioned sticking to metro areas of 100,000 and up, maybe? What else?
Yeah, let me tell you, because you can bet most of this just off one website, which is Best Places. What you want is you want a metro of 100,000 and up. You want a median home price of 100,000 and up. You want a 3-bedroom average apartment rent of $1,000 a month and up. You want a vacant housing rate that is lower or equal to 12.5%, because that's the U.S. average on that. And then beyond that, what we do is we would then spin over to Wikipedia and look up who the top employers are in that market, and what we look for, what we call recession-resistant employers. So these are our government jobs, education jobs, and healthcare jobs. We want to see that as being among the top of the top 10. And then as far as the park itself, you want what's called city water and city sewer. So you don't want private well or private sewer.
No septic.
And that's about it. I'm sorry?
Yeah, no septic.
Well, you can have septic. We have some septic. The issue on septic is your business partner's Mother Nature. And, septics in our industry, the average septic's been running for half a century. So if the ground can absorb it for half a century, there's no reason to believe it can't going forward. But in your due diligence, you still want to make sure you have the ability by law to replace the tanks and also replace the leach fields,
right?
Just in case. But traditionally, they seem to work pretty good.
Is there any criteria that's important, such as parking, or things that might be important in apartments or, single family homes that apply to mobile homes, like amenities or?
Yeah. See, this is where the two industries get so strange, right? Because you're exactly correct. In apartments and single family, it's all about the structures and the bathrooms and the kitchens and the amenities. And so we don't offer any of that because we just rent land. So we don't even look at or care about the homes themselves because they aren't ours. So that's,
well, I mean, but
that's
in the park,
not a amenity.
right? Isn't it? And it's kind of like a subdivision a little bit, right? I mean, wouldn't people
Well, right. But
in a
see,
place?
most of the amenities in our parks, again, remember that all these parks are old. So our typical amenities in the parks that we have are old amenities. And in most larger cities of America today, you've got way better new amenities for people to play with.
Right.
So like a typical trailer park playground is a depressing joke, but a modern playground's amazing. And instead of that old beat up pool, let's go to the really nice water park.
So do you spend any money when you buy projects? Do you do any type of improvements like, or do you guys kind of just clean it up?
No, what you do is you put the money in the stuff that really matters to the average person. You want to have a nice entry. You want people to be proud of where they live, right? So you want to have the entry nice. You want all the common areas to be nice, mowed, painted, picked up. But, the actual amenities, we often demolish the amenities because most of the pools that we inherit are illegal. Right. They don't meet actual city code. And the only reason they're in business is because mom and pop never got found out by the inspector, or the inspector was a friend of mom and pop. So a lot of your pools have to go day one because they're just not safe.
How do you qualify the tenants, or I don't call them tenants, the owners for their rent? Like in the apartment biz, you want to make sure they have, they make like 3 times their rent or whatever the leasing criteria is. What kind of leasing criteria do you put on a mobile home rent payer?
Sure. Well, let me first tell you on the front end, most mobile home parks, the residents that you inherit when you buy it are the same residents when you sell it years later. So they don't move around much. And I don't vet anyone when I buy it, right? So everyone that I buy it, I don't know who they are or anything about them. Mom and pop traditionally didn't keep very good records. So the only thing they have to do to stay is pay the rent on time and not cause any trouble. Just abide by the park rules. So the whole lot of people in there we don't know. On the new ones coming in, we do a criminal and credit screening. But the problem is most park owners set the credit standard very low. This is affordable housing. People don't have any money. On the criminal side, we're typically just looking for prior evictions. So the odds of being approved are extremely high. I mean, we'll take a shot on almost anybody. The formulas you're describing don't really work exactly because, again, our folks have very little money. So it's going to be a higher percentage of their income than the average person. But there's people living in trailer parks and disability checks of $800 a month, and their housing is probably 70% of the total disability check.
That makes sense. But with that said, then if you're inheriting and you're the existing residents, which makes absolute sense, and these people are limited on their funds and maxed out on their, like you said, maybe they're paying 70% of their disability check in the rent, then doesn't that make it a lot harder to go with the rent increase plan, or you just do that over on turnover, or what? You don't force it.
Yeah, let's go over that just mathematically here. In other words, the average person in a mobile home park, and again, this is so broad. I mean, you've got the billionaires of Montauk, you've got the celebrities of Malibu. There's a park in Laguna Beach that rents $5,000 a month. So, but let's discard those and let's just focus on the affordable side. So, the average person has to make minimum wage in America, right? So you can't make lower than minimum wage. So let's assume that our typical customer is making anywhere from, household income of $20,000 to $30,000 a year. That's probably a typical mobile home park household. The guy works at Arby's and makes $10 an hour, so there's 20, and the wife works at Wendy's part-time and makes 10. Things like that. So if you have 30 and you take your third of income formula the government says is what's right, that leaves you 10, and then that leaves you $800 a month. And the typical mortgage on a mobile home is $350. If it's a brand new home, that would still leave you about $500 in lot rent. If you own the home outright or buy it for $1,000, you could theoretically pay lot rents in the $700-800 and still be in the realm of affordable. The reason you don't see that is, again, most of your moms and pops have deliberately kept the rents insanely low, but that is not being supported by new owners. A perfect example is Denver, Colorado, which is the most assimilated market in America. There's more park by percent owned by professional investors in Denver than any other city as far as parks go. And the average lot rent in Denver is over $700 a month. And the parks are completely full. And those lot rents were in the 300s not more than about 4 years ago. So then you say, well, what the heck happened there? Well, people say, well, we'll just raise the rents up to where we think they should be. And they still haven't even hit the envelope yet, because if you're totally full, then that would suggest your rent's still not as high as they could be.
Right. So you're saying
So
it's the mom and pop old school managers keeping it down themselves for whatever their reasons are to play nicey nice rather than the fact of affordability.
Yeah, let me give you a crazy example. This is from one of my early parks I owned. So this is about a 17-year-old example, but it still would be apropos today. About a park in Grapevine, Texas, which is a nice suburb of Dallas. Very, very nice stats. Metro's $6 million, and back then even the median home price was in the 200s. But the lot rate in the park was only $100 a month, and this park was within easy walking distance of the school district. I mean, it was the houses near it were $700,000. I mean, it was insane. So I asked mom and pop once I had it under contract, hey, why the $100? And pop said, well, you don't know much about Grapevine, but I was the mayor for many years and very active in the city, and I own the trailer park. And I figured, if I raise my rents, they're all going to come down and catcall me at the meetings or things. So I just made a business decision not to raise the rent. So I'm like, well, when did you last raise the rent? Well, it's been like 25 years. So I looked around at the other parks, and the cheapest park in Grapevine, other than this park, was $325, and most were in the mid threes. So what do you do? I mean, so I just sent everyone a letter in the park. There's about 31 mobile homes in there, and I said, hey, here's the deal. You've been getting away with murder for decades because mom and pop never raised the rent, and I know that everyone else is paying $350 because I know you have friends in the other parks. So here's the deal. Make this special deal. I'm raising the rent in 60 days to $275, still the cheapest in the city. But if you don't want to pay it, here's the name and number of every other mobile home park in Grapevine, and you're free to move anywhere you want. And of course, I didn't lose anybody because the next cheapest they could call would be $325. But then it just shows how crazy this guy was to keep the rents. But that's just how moms and pops are. You know the movie The Lucy Show with the Ricardos and the Mertzes, and they're vacationing together and hanging out together and all that stuff. That's what happens is these mom and pops. Everyone needs friends. Everyone needs affection, and they saw their residents as it, man. That's their list of buddies, and you can't really raise rent on your buddies.
How do you get in touch with the mom and pops? Do they are you saying they maybe they live there, or you're looking at the tax records? And
multiple methods. The first way you get in touch with moms and pops is you just look at listings that go online on Mobile Home Park Store and LoopNet. But those are moms and pops who are internet savvy, and let's be honest, there's not a lot of those.
Right.
So what we do is we typically talk constantly to brokers. Brokers call on mom and pops all the time, and when they get listings, the good listings they retain is called pocket listings.
Yeah.
So you want to call all the brokers out there. If you go to like mobilehomeparkstore.com, you see a tab that says brokers. There's about 100 industry-specific brokers in America. And we would additionally cold call parks. We send direct mail to parks. We even drop into parks and get a conversation going. And but that's how you reach them. You drive by any park that you drive by, you can see the address, find the address. You can then go on the tax rolls and get the owner straight off the tax assessor's website.
Right.
In most markets. And if it's not online, you can just call and get it. So it's not hard to get to the owners.
At all? Do you do any direct mail?
All the time. Yeah, okay. all the time we do that. It's like any other direct mail, though. It's a huge fail rate, right? I mean, direct mail in America, the average fail rate is 99%.
Yeah.
Our fail rate is probably 90%.
Right.
So, but yeah, we do direct mail.
What about, so we've talked a lot about parks. Well, let me ask you one last question. Who pays the utilities? They pay their own utilities?
Yeah, it's changing. In the olden days, the park owner paid it all. Trash. Thank heavens, normally not electricity or gas, though. Thank heavens. And then what happened is the industry is getting away from that. So pretty much all of your professional owners, ourselves included, are sub-metering water, sewer, and billing it back, because it just makes no sense to give people free water, sewer. When you do that, they don't conserve, they don't care. It's just a terrible idea.
Right. Are you actually sub-metering, or you're using like a service, like a utility bill back service that splits the bill up, or are you actually putting in
Well, what we're doing is, actually, it's an interesting question. There is a whole industry
yes.
that's coming to America from Europe in the sub-metering arena. And there's one preeminent company called Metron. And Metron has a meter that reads every 20 minutes. And so it alerts you of water leaks as well as reading your meters. And then they can also do all the calculations and billing. And it's a godsend, and it only costs $5 a month per meter. So basically, a lot of your park owners, and we just retrofitted our portfolio to Metron. So everything we have is now in Metron. But
Wow.
that's where that's heading. I mean, the idea of a guy, Hillbilly Bob, manually reading the meters is long gone now, because technology has marched on.
Right.
So I think eventually everything will be done through Metron. And of course, the interesting part of all this is that as you sub-meter, what you rapidly find is that the use of water sewer plummets. So our average park, once we institute sub-metering, use falls by on average a third. So it's a win-win for everyone. It's lower utilities and better for the environment and conservation. I mean, you can't really find fault in any of it. It's a win-win-win-win.
But that bill's going to the owner, right?
Yes. Well,
right.
No, that we're billing. In other words, the bill's going to go to the resident.
Gotcha.
So we're all trying to get out of the water sewer business. It was fun while it lasted, but nobody wants to do it anymore.
Right. What about what would be the investing in just single mobile homes on land? I mean, is that? I mean, I think
it's been done. There was a guy named Lonnie Scruggs who wrote a book on it called Deals on Wheels back in the 70s, and he sold a lot of that book. The only problem with these deals are called Lonnie deals. The only problem with the traditional Lonnie deal was the SAFE Act. Yeah, when the SAFE Act came out, Lonnie died right before the SAFE Act came out, so he never was able to write the rebuttal to his business model. But when the SAFE Act came out, that really was kind of a death blow to the model, because you're not really equipped to be SAFE Act licensed and compliant when you're doing Lonnie deals.
Well, that's because he was seller financing those deals, right? But what about just
exactly? We
need affordable housing. Why not? Prehab, I guess I call it, or flip mobile homes.
Well, you'll find people. Yeah, people do. They buy and sell and trade mobile homes just the same as stick building markets where the home prices are high enough.
Yeah.
That there's a liquid market on those. I mean, you see it constantly in Florida and California, and any place where the home values are high, even Colorado.
Even out here, we have a lot of mobile homes outside of parks.
Yep.
But that's not your gig, what I'm hearing.
Not our gig. Exactly correct. It's not our gig, but we have no problem with that gig. And there are a lot of park owners who dabble in both. So,
right.
But we've just always stuck with the land.
Awesome. Well, this has been fantastic for me. I mean, I think everybody else is going to enjoy this very much. Tell us about Mobile Home University and how all our listeners can get additional education from you.
Sure. Yeah. What that is, it's a strange story. Back in the day, 20 years ago, there was no information on the industry. It was a vacuum. And my partner Dave owned the website Mobile Home Park Store. So he would get requests from people looking at this fledgling concept of mobile home parks and getting books on it. And there weren't any. So I was not Dave's partner back then. I just knew Dave, and Dave wanted to write any stuff to put on the website. So my first book was called I'm With Stupid, 50 stories from a trailer park in which I just told all the stupidest things that had ever happened at the park I was officing in.
That sounds like a good book.
And Dave, yeah, it was a good book. And then Dave wrote a little book on, just some mathematical concepts on park valuation. And people love these little books. And I mean little books, like never exceeded 50 pages in length. Almost like Mad Magazine.
And these books are still available today?
Well, yeah, what happened was people would clamor. They wanted more books. We'd buy a book, read the book, and say, I want another book. So we'd write another little short story book. Well, over time, the books just kept growing and growing. And so we ultimately combined all the books into one big thing, and we made that into a course on mobile home park investment. Since there wasn't any on earth, we thought this is something people might want. And they wanted that. And then over time, people said, we like that, but we don't like to read. What do you have for non-readers? So we started doing a boot camp-like thing. It's basically a live event where we would actually go out in mobile home parks and show them how they work. And but it's always been strictly as a hobby. I mean, our day job is managing our portfolio. So what we did was we took Dave's son, Brandon, who back then was 17 years old. We made him the head of MHU. And so it's been his thing since he was 17.
Wow.
And it's just always just been a goofy hobby. It's a hobby, we can do goofy stuff, right? So we're kind of the Ben and Jerry's ice cream of mobile home park education. But yeah, if you go to the website, mhu.com, we stoke the thing with lots of free information. And people are always fascinated with us because of our hobby. They're like, well, why are you giving away, the magical tricks? Well, number one, there are no magical tricks. And the other is it hasn't hampered us so far. I mean, we've bought an average of a park a week for the last several years. So it hasn't seemed to really get in our way much. But, probably the craziest thing I would encourage people, if you're bored to do, is to, I got a call one day from a reporter from the New York Times who was doing an article on affordable housing. And I invited him to come on out to the boot camp. Why not? So he came out, and then he asked to live in one of our parks for a week as a New Yorker who'd never been outside of Manhattan. Oh. So we let him pick a park, and we took an old abandoned mobile home in there, and we put furniture in it from Rent-A-Center, and that's how it began. And then he went away and wrote this article. He absolutely loved it. You got to check the article out. It's if you Google in my name, Frank Rolfe, and the New York Times, there's the article, and it freaked us out how much he liked the industry. So we've also had some positive things from teaching our class. We've had a lot of lenders go through it, and appraisers, and all kinds of people, tax assessors, you name it.
And we're all in business to make money or whatever. We're nice people, but we're also in business to make money. So I assume that by also doing this as your hobby, we'll call it, that you probably get a lot of leads because you're the authority, or at least one of them.
We get a lot of leads, but what also happens is I write a newsletter every month, and because I am a park owner, we have a lot of park owners that really like our newsletter. So we have a lot of people who a lot of moms and pops will contact us because they really like what we do and how we do it. Because again, it's just us telling the truth, talking about what we do.
How do we get the newsletter?
Freaks people out. Just go to mhu.com and you can sign up for it. It's free. Okay. All that stuff we do is free. So it's just two guys who live in small towns who own mobile home parks having fun, basically.
Spectacular.
I love it.
Click in the Clack Brothers. That's what I think of, like Car Talk. Remember that?
Well, yeah. Some people, we like what we do to like Car Talk. Remember the show Car Talk on PBS?
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we do. It's just like two guys on mobile home parks and talking about mobile home parks, and it's recreational for us, and we can talk to our friends, and so it's kind of goofy, but I think it's good for the industry because without us, there's really no information.
That's fantastic. So let me ask you though, if we're out here in the Pacific Northwest or the West Coast, anywhere out here, I mean, me personally, I have relationships in, Houston and some other Midwest cities because my brokerage firm is out there. What, if somebody had a lead in Pierce County, Washington in a park, is that something you guys are interested in, or you only want to stick to,
Well, us ourselves, being where we are in our life cycle. I mean, we're pretty much stuck in our territory because this is where we live and what we understand. But there's people looking for parks everywhere. One interesting thing about the park business that people don't realize, again, why would they? Because it's mobile home parks. Most of the mobile home parks in America are not in the Northeast. You think about in most things like, hey, where are the most apartments in America? Well, probably in Manhattan, right? Or, but this is one asset that most of it is at where you are. Washington State is in the top 10 as far as largest number of mobile home parks. California, it's pretty much a Western phenomenon. The top 3 states for parks in America are Texas, California, and Florida. But in the top 10, you have a lot of states people would not expect, a lot of Western states. Washington, I think, is ranked number 6 or number 8. And then all those big population markets in the Northeast have none. Connecticut has under 50 parks.
Interesting.
So it's crazy.
So
Washington State has
ripe.
3,000 parks.
We are ripe out.
Yeah, you are. You're in a good park area.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm gonna go find myself a park to buy. How about that, Joe? You think it sounds good?
Yeah,
good idea.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Well, then we'll sign up and get going on Mobile Home U there. And do you guys network? Is there like a networking? So I mean.
Oh yeah, there's a very active forum on MHU.com. There's all kinds of stuff. So people network on the forum, and then they, privately DM each other, and people forge partnerships and alliances and all kinds of stuff.
So all your boot camps are out there where you live, right? So if somebody would need to come out to...
No, we rotate them around. Brandon pretty much picks the cities each year, and we pretty much try and spread out and be equal and fair to everyone. So we're West Coast, East Coast, North and South each year.
Well, geez, we need to talk to you guys offline here and see if we can convince you to come out to our area here with my partner Joe being a marketing mastermind. We could blow that up for you guys, and we did Seattle a few years ago. So yes, we go wherever Brandon tells me to show up. I am there. Okay. So. Well, Joe, note to self, get a hold of Brandon. Let's see if we can twist his arm, and we'll take him on a side trip out to Hillary Swank's place.
He would probably love it.
Awesome. Well, is there anything else that you'd like to share with us, or anything else that we can do to give back to you for your time today? It's been so awesome. Are you on a vacation? Are you road tripping?
No, I'm driving between mobile home parks we're in right now. I'm leaving our park in Houston and heading for Bryan, Texas right now. So that's what I do. I drive mobile home parks all the time.
Awesome.
But I guess the only thing I would tell people listening in, if you have a negative stereotype of mobile home parks from watching Cops and Myrtle Manor and the movie 8 Mile and Trailer Park Boys, and just give it a realistic look. I mean, I know there's a lot of fake news out there today, and our industry has been the subject of the biggest bunch of fake news ever. What's crazy to people in the industry is that back in the 60s, you had Elvis himself living in a trailer park in 2 different movies. He lived in a trailer park, and it happened at the World's Fair, 1963, and the movie Speedway, 1968. How in the world did we end up on the wrong side of the media? No one's ever been able to figure it out. It happened it happened with the movie Pink Flamingos in the 70s, and it was all downhill since then. And I guess people loved the stereotype of the crazy trailer park resident. It was all trashy, and the neighbor who's the hooker and the drunk, and it's just crazy how
sounds like a reality TV show.
Yeah, he's like, well, I just like to show Cops. They love the trailer park edition of Cops because every scene the guy's got no shirt, covered in tattoos, crazy stuff, no teeth. But that isn't the industry. It's not really a fair assessment. That would be like saying the lodging industry is all about the tiki motor court for $19 a night down on Harry Hines Boulevard. That's not the thing. So if you never looked at the actual industry, give it a fair chance, look at it, because it's just a shame how bad the media has ruined the impression of what we do.
Right.
And it's a problem we face every day as an owner and as a resident. It's just we get lumped into this crazy trailer trash concept, which don't know where it came from, but it's not justified. It's not deserved. It's really, really unfair.
I think it is like a hot asset class that, because of the affordable housing issue. I mean, at least for sure where we're at, people should be all over that. Do you find that the mom and pops, do you have a good opportunity to get seller financing out of them on their parks?
Oh yeah, we still do all the time. And the reason for that is that right now, if you're a mom and pop and you take your sale in cash, all you can get in a CD, and they're very conservative investors, is 1 to 1.5%. Whereas if they carry, they'll get roughly 5%.
Yeah.
So it's about
do you ever
a
joint
3 to 5 for one.
Do you ever leave them in?
No, we have not. I know people who have. We traditionally have not. It would be kind of a little hard because a lot of what you can do in the park is going to come back to haunt them, because all their friends are going to call them up and say, you sold me out, I hate you, and probably get really unpleasant.
Yes, sir. I get that. Well, this is spectacular. Well, we definitely want to stay in touch with you guys, and I think we'll try to reach out to Brandon and see. Is it Brendan or Brandon?
Brandon.
Okay.
Cool.
Awesome.
We'll get in touch with them. Hook it up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Hey, thanks so much, Frank, and safe travels there as you're cruising around the parks. And we look forward to meeting you at some point here, if that's at all possible.
Sure.
As we roll
Sounds
through
good.
And thank you for your time today.
You bet. Absolutely. Thanks for having me, and we'll talk to you again soon.
All right, guys.
Joe, you got anything else there?
Nope. Well, if you guys want to grab the show notes for this call, for this podcast, you can get them at seattleinvestorsclub.com/29. That's seattleinvestorsclub.com/29. And Frank, thanks again. We'll talk to you all soon.
Right
Great.
on.
Thank you.
Over and out.
Thanks for listening to the Seattle Investors Club podcast. If you have questions that you'd like to have answered on the show, shoot us an email at info@seattleinvestorsclub.com. Now go out, take that action, and build that real estate business. Thanks for listening.